So you're in the top 1%, or let's at least imagine it for a minute. You control over 50% of America's wealth. You've been separated from being rich because you're wealthy. The value you've created in order to get there only punishes you for doing so by charging you ridiculously large bills from a greedy tax system. From day one, the government has you by the balls, and the more money you make, the tighter the grip seems to get, and essentially the money you pay is used for useless things anyway. Like for example, sending a monkey into space. I'm not going to disrespect your intelligence, because I know you know there's certain loopholes the wealthy use to avoid paying such large tax bills. Certain assets they purchase in order to essentially tie up their money and receive payments from it like it's their own mini banking system. But what I didn't tell you is what these are and how easily accessible it is for even someone like you. Being part of the ultra wealthy isn't all sunshine and rainbows, which I'm pretty sure you know. It has its fair shares of stresses and complications, and I'm sure you watching this would deal with all that for billions of dollars. And let's be honest, the team of pure geniuses around them will help them find every loophole and cash flowing asset there is and that they can lay their hands on. But the bottom line is, if your name is on that business owner sheet, if they wanted to, they could track you down and pull the plug on your whole operation. You see, you probably think they just own another business that owns this business, or send money elsewhere, but if the name and the business falls under US soil, you're not getting out of nothing. They'll seize your assets and send you jail for 5 years per tax evasion you do. And that's where the incredible smart Harvard lawyers come into play. You see, small independent countries like the Virgin Islands, Jersey, Malta and many more allow you to have something called a shell company. Take Nike for example, a company earning billions of dollars every month, not paying any tax. They have two companies, one set up in Belize, a small independent country with a 1% tax rate, and then one in America and Europe where they sell their products, pay all the expensive, but here's the catch. The one in Belize owns the trademark, so after all the profit has been made from the US and Europe, hundreds of millions of dollars, they have a debt to Belize where they have to pay all the profit into. Thus where they pay their 1% tax, which is pennies to them, and they get to keep $999 million for themselves. These shell companies are like heaven sends to the top 1%, because if they start a business without their name on it, this is where you can pass money through it without leaving a trace, and clean all the dirt off your hard-earned cash. But you see, there's a catch, and I'm sure you can figure it out. After doing this, the owners of these companies essentially have a flood of cash entering their bank accounts, coming from random tiny countries that have laughable GDP. You guessed it, a huge red flag for Trevor the taxman, setting the FBI on you like a pack of wolves. There have been some ways in the past in which people have slightly got away with spending all their money, like credit cards from these small countries to spend their money on whatever they want. But after a few years, this got figured out, because reports were coming through to the US that people were buying non-stop purchases to try and spend some of this money. That poses a different view to you, which is you don't have to buy something outright to enjoy it. Instead, rent that thing out for a certain time, whether it's a private yacht, a private jet, a mansion, or whatever you're into. This way it wouldn't flag up to the US taxman. But if this isn't something you feel comfortable doing, and you actually want to buy your stuff outright for yourself, here's a 2020s solution. You must have heard of Rich Dad Poor Dad, assets and liabilities, how the poor get poorer and the rich keep getting richer. The main message in that story is assets make you money, and liabilities take money away from you. You see, when working a 9 to 5, falling into the infamous rat race and living paycheck to paycheck, this can be incredibly stressful and a dangerous way to live. Because if you found yourself needing to pay for an unexpected purchase, you're stuck because you have no money. Well, here's why the wealthy get wealthier, separated themselves from the rich, and continuously take money away from the poor. You see, while poor seem to worship money, the wealthy use it as some sort of token to keep making them more money and let the money come to them. If you gave 100 people a $1,000 check, you can't leave it in the bank forever because the value goes down due to inflation, and with the current climate, inflation will eat you alive. The government and banking system printing money for fun, the dollar loses value and so does your money. So obviously we both know they're all going to spend it. Spend it on what? Businesses. And who owns all the businesses? The top 1%. Now you have one wealthy person taking 20 to 30 people's $1,000. And you know what else the top 1% purchase? Assets. Cash flowing assets that will not only pay them passive income but also rise in price due to inflation. Whilst the poor are happy collecting their 1% interest rate, the rich are collecting 100% interest rates on millions of dollars. They buy endless amounts of real estate along with the banks, where they then rent them back out to the poor, and this is essentially where your money in the bank is also being spent. News article being produced that by 2030 no one will own anything anymore and it will all be rented. And why is that? Because the top 1%, the government and the banks would have bought everything up. You need to get involved before it's too late. Here's some extra slotted in information for you to take advantage of. You see, after these assets have been purchased, what the ultra wealthy will go and do is, let's say they want to live off $500,000 a year. Every year they'll take out a $500,000 loan against their assets, which is super easy for them to do, which will then get paid back by the increased percentage of the passive income of the assets. With loans not being taxable, they can live off $500,000 each year tax-free, essentially risk-free, because they would have millions of dollars invested in a number of different assets, all paying them a percentage to pay back this loan. Even if they only got 1% back off all their investments, let's say they had $50 million invested, this is the $500,000 that they need to pay back. As time goes on, the more creative you get with your strategy allows you to have more chances of creating bigger loopholes to pay less tax. And 2, buy up better investment assets, or just go straight from point A to B and team up with the government and work alongside them. Something Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, Elon Musk, Donald Trump and many more seem to be doing. Of course, as you're aware, with the modern times this will never be publicly spoken about, but if you want proof, do one Google search on the World Economic Forum and the proof is staring at you straight in the face. You're bound to have watched The Wolf of Wall Street, and I wonder if you've ever spotted the hidden message throughout. If you watch it again closely later, you will see everything we have spoken about today in this video that they did with their money. Although the best strategy sometimes may not be to increase your business, because at the size you're at, you're too much of a small fish for the US to come after. So your strategy will continue to be a success. But you see, with the Wolf of Wall Street, when they grow, what they continuously do is buy real estate, estates of it, buy luxury purchases like cars and yachts to try burn some of the cash. And finally, the business grows so much they find themselves with cash that they don't even know what to do with. And they end up sending majority of it to Switzerland in an offshore bank so the tax people can't see it. And the money, 1, compounds over time, another billionaire's best friend, but it also allows them to clean it up so they can spend it buying more assets in the company's name. You've heard of compound interest, right? Earlier when we said that the poor will sit on $20,000 to collect 1% interest and make $200 at the end of the year. But now flip the coin and imagine you have $1 billion in the bank and get that 1% interest. Now you're receiving $10 million every single year completely free, which you can spend however you please, as it will be the cleanest money you have ever had. That's why the rich take bigger investment risks, because they can afford to lose it. They can keep getting richer without lifting a finger. And finally, why the poor stand no chance is because any money they get, they either spend or invest. And which option they take goes straight back into a business or invested into a business, which, you guessed it, goes straight back into the owner's pocket, who's in the top 1%. It's time to wake up, ladies and gentlemen. No matter what stage you're at in life, how much money you have or how much money you earn, there's some simple millionaire and billionaire habits that you can start doing from this video to start spiraling yourself upward. Number 1, work smarter, not harder. Buy assets and not liabilities. Start small and then you work your way up to buy something bigger like real estate. And finally, break out the mindset that you're currently trapped in. Now, after you finish liking this video and subscribing for the value you've gotten today, if you want to see how to escape the rat race, the matrix, then you want to go and watch this video right here, because I do an in-depth documentary teaching you on how to escape and a plan on how you can escape. So take action, subscribe, like, take action, click here.